What's up, everybody? Steve Bertrand here, Rolling Motivation for the third installment of Roll With It with Dave Mackenzie Kong. How you doing? You looking sharp
Doing
today,
good.
sir?
So are you, my fair friend? Look
Thank
at you. Half in San Francisco.
Yes, my curtains seem to be screwing with my San Francisco trip. So I don't know what the deal is with that. So
what do we call you? The San Francisco treat?
that is, yes. I'm the San Francisco treat today.
That's what we'll introduce you as when you do a keynote down there.
Absolutely. So today, interestingly enough, our topic is patience, and for when we see this video posted, it lends itself to actually having to be patient in the moment. We were trying to do I wanted to go live on the YouTube channel initially without just having to post this after, which you'll see, but YouTube does not have the ability to live stream with multiple participants in its current platform. So it was just me talking to Dave on the phone, and Dave was a participant in the chat window, but I was like, I can't add you. Where do I go? What's the link? And all these different things. So I was getting frustrated, and then I remembered that it's just technology, and patience is a virtue, as they say. It's the oldest cliche saying in the book, but today we're going to talk about it in terms of what to do in the current landscape of the world. Some of us are still home doing a lot of different things, and we're, this being the third installment of all that we're doing, and Dave and I creating content, and him helping me with moving another brand of mine forward, Cool Vehicles, which is just me wanting to talk about hot rods. So I started a blog and a YouTube channel and all those different things doing that. And I've got a good community going on Facebook with that. But, that took patience because it's just over a year and it's starting to actually build some traffic. And Dave, I think you came up with the concept of patience ultimately because we kept, for one reason or another, kept rescheduling this the last couple of days. Just because everything was kind of going crazy for us. So,
I think patience is the key word these days. I mean, especially over the weekend when we were ping-ponging, trying to get this video together and my schedule wasn't working and this and that and this, bing, 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 and that. But finally, we had patience and we stuck with it. And here we are today. And yeah, I mean, like everything takes patience. I mean, in this day and age, everything is so instant. We expect everything right now. We almost that's why, Prime does so well if we can get it in 2 days. Not these days, but before all this was happening, we were, with Prime, we were getting things in 2 days and we're happy about that. The time of view for videos is usually around 2 minutes is the max these days. It used to be 5 and now 2, and now you have like these Facebook, 1 minute, and people's attention span is very short, and our attention span for ourselves is very short these days too. We don't give ourselves as much time as we should. We don't give ourselves enough patience for us these days as much as we should. And I think in these days, in this day and age, especially with all this COVID stuff, just being inside, we're learning to be patient, learning to have patience with ourselves. And I think that's a big thing,
Well, and I think it's interesting to think about, for me specifically, you would think someone with a disability, growing up with cerebral palsy, using a wheelchair every day, that I would have a bigger degree of patience than I do. And being completely transparent and fully self-aware, I'm not as patient as I could be in certain situations. And it dawned on me this morning, because I think this was, I don't necessarily even know if we talked as it was happening, but depending on the day, it can take me anywhere from sort of like 7 or 8 minutes to 35 or 45 minutes to put my shoes on. And you would think, based on that process, I'd be up early, give myself the room to be able to do that, and have all this leeway. So if the shoes do pop, if the shoes do pop on in 10, 12 minutes, gravy, and I got all this extra time. And even if they
Mhm.
take 45 minutes, I've still got extra time after that because I've given myself that room. But I have this sort of
100%.
I have this sort of arrogance around the whole process, or this almost kind of lack of situational awareness in the moment, and I don't like to give myself that, or I just never seem to do. And this morning, I didn't have anything necessarily pressing. I had a meeting at 1 o'clock, and and then we were going to do this, and I had another conversation with someone else that I'm doing some work for, and so nothing was like I didn't have to be at a job like I was before, and I didn't have to be somewhere for on the dot 9 o'clock or 8:30 or 9:30 or whatever. But I found myself still feeling frustrated that I was having so much trouble with my shoes, and I was like,
Mhm.
and so I was trying to exercise patience because like anybody else in my own situation, I would tell them, well, you can't be super hard on yourself, and like this is what happens, and your feet are jerk sometimes, and like all these different things, and it depends on the shoes that I wear. Today, I decided to wear some socks because since I had staph infection in my foot um, back in October, I I didn't. I stopped wearing socks for a long time. I was just wearing shoes, no socks, and I found out like that I'm not the only one that does this. I saw some other people in wheelchairs. They never wear socks unless they go somewhere cold.
Mhm.
My mom in particular hasn't worn socks for 30 years because she just doesn't like socks.
Yeah.
Feet get too hot or whatever her deal is. So I all of a sudden thought like me not wearing socks was this sort of weird thing, and I stopped wearing socks, and it shaved a bunch of time off getting my shoes on. So then I didn't even need to be patient because I can get my shoes on faster now. Well, this morning that didn't happen. It took me like 32 minutes to put both my shoes on and get in the chair and get ready.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I had to take that breath and like be patient with the process because, especially with someone that has trouble controlling my feet sometimes and spasms and whatnot, if I get frustrated and tense, then my
Yeah.
feet just kick forward, and it's actually like completely counterproductive to the process. And what I started to think about was how often we add unnecessarily resistance to things, and we're not patient, and it adds so much to the like it's just counterproductive to what we want to do.
Oh
You were
yeah.
talking just before we hit the record button here. You were talking about being in a flow state, and so maybe you speak a little bit to that because being in a flow state and patience kind of go hand in hand.
Word up, Steve. Well, listen to this. Okay. Even a snail will reach its destination. It may be slow, it may have this cumbersome house on its back. It knows where, sort of knows where it wants to go,
Hmm.
but it meets that destination. It gets that juicy part, right?
Right.
May have to go around some eggshells just to get into the garden, but it's going around the eggshells, and its destination is to get to that juicy, yummy, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, just like you finding that not having socks, that's still a part of your process, but having that inner patience is super important to have. Um, but we're all snails. We all have a destination, and we all get there. No matter how fast you are, the turtle and the hare, you both will get there. One may get there to his destination faster. It doesn't mean that the tortoise the tortoise will get there, the hare will get there. But in another meaning, we all have a destination, our own personal destination, and we need to have a patience to get to that finish line, our own personal finish line, not somebody else's. The
Yeah.
minute we put expectation for somebody else, we're going to screw ourselves up, and we're going to get so discombobulated, and we're not going to give us the compassion to just say, hey, chill back, just chill,
Yeah.
figure it out, hold on. And when you do have patience with yourself, you're going to be able to tap into that flow state a lot better. You're going to be
Hmm.
able to adjust into that flow state and realize that what you are doing, no matter what it is going to have, is that destination, is that final outcome, is that where it's going to be. But I feel, and not everybody may feel the same way that's going to be listening, is that somewhere, somehow, um, out there in the universe or in a mixed energy, you're participating in the movement of this world. We all, if we can all be still with it, for a little bit, have patience for ourselves and have some compassion, then we're able to hit that flow state a lot easier and be in tune to what we actually, where we are meant to be. because the minute we put pressure on ourselves is the minute we're off track.
Yeah.
You know, just something.
Well, and I think that is great to think about, and it's good. It's a good reminder for everybody, including myself, because what happens in that moment when we're flowing, everything's happening. You know, people are happy, jobs are getting done. You're sort of knocking out your task list without even having to look at the task list. You're doing all these different things. Your jobs are lining up and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, what happens for me, and I think for a lot of people, is somebody comes along and says, "What about this? Why aren't you doing this? And you should be doing this."
Oh, yeah.
And it's great. It's good to get advice from those individuals. So I think that's a point where you need to police those people and realize, are they someone that's going to be able to give me advice and move me forward in the right direction, or are they going to disrupt my flow state? And oftentimes what people end up doing, whether it be intentional or not, is people disrupt your flow state because whatever they're suggesting wasn't your initial plan in the first place.
Right. Or sometimes our ego can disrupt us. Someone could be there, patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. And that's what Aristotle said. Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. So the thing is we have that patience for us gives us that ability to go, wait a second, especially with our ego, because there are some Jedi masters, there may be Ben Kenobi. Luke Skywalker was like, didn't have the time of day sometimes. He's like, why? Why, Ben? Like, seriously, like Yoda. And the minute you just like, just relax, like in Empire Strikes Back, like they're in the swamp and they're trying to lift the X-Wing out of it, right? Yeah. And then Luke just wanted to get it done. But Yoda was like, and he goes back to himself and he goes, and he has patience with all the negativity, all that shit that's going on inside. He's just like being able to be calm within himself. And the outcome was his destination, which was get the X-Wing out of there. But Luke Skywalker was like, he couldn't sit himself still enough. And, like to lift that, be one with the Force enough to be able to like figure that out. And if we're able, even we have like ding dongs knocking on our door saying, do this, do that. How about this? How about that? But if we just slow it down and be able to like, just sit there and be with it, we may be able to go, oh, wait a second. They have a point. I see where you're coming from. I do see. But when then our ego goes in, it's like, what are you trying to say to me? Huh? What are you saying? I'm no good? Huh? But that narrative is something that we teach ourselves. And that narrative is something that comes in at that time, and we drop the X-Wing back into the water until a Yoda comes by and goes, you dimwit, just sit still, you dumb ding-dong. I mean, seriously. And it's like that in offices. We can see that professionally in a lot of different places. We see that in sport, that you just be with it. Just be still with it. It's so important.
Well, I think that's why everyone talks so much about finding passion, because when you do passionate things, then you just lose track of time, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's interesting that you talked about that, because I actually watched that episode last night. There was a Star Wars marathon on last night, so I watched a little bit of it. And one of the parts that I just flipped to it without even knowing it was on was that part where he was lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp. Nice. So just like if the Force doesn't exist, we believe it does now, because you were just talking about it. But it was also interesting too, because at the end of that scene, he said, well, you just did something that was impossible. And he says, that's why you couldn't do it. Basically, I'm not going to do the Yoda voice because you do it way better than me. But Yoda basically told him it's because you believed it was impossible, that it couldn't be done.
Word up.
Even if we believe things are impossible or they can't be done is one thing, but two sides of the same coin are believing that it has to be done this way or in a certain timeline. Right? Like, I have to get this done within the next 2 months or 3 months or whatever your expectation is. And yes, it's important to have a goal if you're training for something and to get there. And so to have statistics and say, if I do this stuff for this amount of time, I have enough stats by testing it. that I'm going to get to this destination. Sort of, I have enough criteria, enough split testing to say if I do X, it's going to cause Y, and I'm going to get to my destination in this amount of time. But what makes it even better is if you can know that, that's your ultimate sort of, we'll go macro and micro. You do the stuff on a micro level because you know you need to do it, and on a macro level, you know the goal is big. But within the process of doing all the stuff, if you're just flowing through it and not necessarily concerned of like doing it, what tends to happen, especially with goal setting, is you tend to achieve that bigger goal and knock out the smaller stuff without necessarily thinking I have to do this number 9 on my goal list, and number 13 and number 14, all those things. Because when you're flowing through that process and letting it happen, it's happening as you're moving along. And I think that's why I think people talk so much about wanting to find a passion, is because you're not as concerned about it being so specific, because you're not trying to do something. You're not trying to accomplish the specific thing because you have to. You're just doing it because you want to do it.
Well, yeah, totally, 100%. And like, if you're passion focused and your career is passion focused, it's easier to hit that flow state because you're not hitting your head against the wall, trying to get back into the mode of things. Like, you're niched out. This is my niche. This is my passion. So it's easier to tap back into that. So like, I think it's important to have goals. I think it's important to have a schedule. And what happens is at the best of time is that people get in a panic. That they panic. Sometimes they feel they get out of the schedule. They're uncertain of themselves. They begin to panic. They don't have enough patience. And that's when you know, when those emotions start coming at you, hitting you across the face, and oh my God, I got 2 more weeks. Oh shoot, I got to hand this in 2 more weeks. Oh my God. It's the same as in like people in high school or whenever, is that same emotion that comes up, no matter who you are, no matter what age you are in the age spectrum, you're still going to get those same emotions. Oh, 1 sec.
Too fired up there. You lost your.
I know.
You knocked your wire out there.
So anyhow, to make it short, is that's when it's time, when you notice those things, to pull back, just like Yoda, and just kind of go, and to reconnect with yourself. Go, okay, I've got 2 weeks. What needs to happen? What's my pace? What needs, what's our content schedule? We've got 5. You should have it scheduled down by that time for publication. But it's about when you start getting scared, those simple things that we know of when we were little. We've had to deal with these ever since we were like 2, 3, whatever, when we first fall on our face. We got to pay attention to those signals, and those will never change throughout our lifetime. And once we're able to cue into that, we're able to just like pull back, have a little patience with ourselves.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that happens, so say you have 2 weeks, which for, in the business world is 10 days, but even if you call it 14, you have 14 days to do something, and people go, oh my God, I have all this stuff to do in 14 days. But then what if you think about, I have all these things to do in 14 days. So you take all the stuff you need to do and you divide it by 14. And then you have, so instead of having a bunch of things to do, you may only have 3 things to do a day for 14 days. So if you go and you get those 3 things done in that day, then the next day you do the same thing. And if you're feeling refreshed and you're feeling happy and you're in a flow state, because that'll happen when you're not stressed and you're thinking about just doing the process and enjoying it, you might on one day get 3 things done, next day you might get 2 things done, but the day after that you might get 7 things done. And so you're ahead of the game. And then 3 things, and all of a sudden, you're ready to produce that final product like 2 or 3 days before you thought you were going to. Especially in terms of school, because I was always that guy that said the teacher gave us 3 weeks to do a project, and I've got to really rush on it. Well, when is it due? Well, tomorrow. It was like, when did you start it? 20 minutes ago. I was that guy.
Yeah.
And we would always, in high school, at least for me, I was always like, oh, and I never really called anybody a nerd or or anything, but I would always see those people that that would get into a situation where um, they would be done this 3 week project like a week into the after we got it assigned. They would, so the teacher gives us 3 weeks, they finish in a week, and they get like an A+ on it, and it's like, well, how did they do that? Well, it number one means that you don't need 3 weeks to do the project, so the teacher was just being nice to you.
Yeah.
And if you'd have got it done early, you'd have been able to do whatever you wanted because you're already done the stuff. And they had a way easier time doing it in a week, 2 weeks before it was due, than someone like me who, even if I'd given myself 2 weeks to do it, I had an extra week, but because I'd wasted that first week, I'm more panicked, right? So I think we do a lot of that with life and with goals. And I think a lot of times people look at somebody else's success and they look at their goals and they say, well, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then they say, so I need to do these things that this person is doing in order to achieve that.
That's right.
And I think what people need to realize is there's layers underneath that. So what does that actually mean? Like, why do you want to achieve the same thing that those people want to achieve?
Well, yeah, I mean, and if we look at, we're a social media generation, and we go on there and we see all the Instagram models, we see all these, like, all the different types of people, and they're like, they appear to be achievers. And then in our monkey brain, we're like, I want to be like that. I want to ride a Lamborghini. That's the measure of success. So I have to have that. I have to own a corporate building, a business, and that big skyscraper, blah, 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 blah. Then we create expectations out of that. The minute those expectations hit us is the minute we start to panic. We set ourselves up to trip, to fall. We set ourselves up for inner turmoil. But truly, I mean, and I believe this, I mean, a lot of people will disagree with me, is that they'll see that success, money is success. Being rich, being, lavish, and having these wonderful parties is success. Simple love is success. Simple love for ourselves is success. Simple love for what we do is success.
Yeah.
So, having compassion is success. Having patience is success. Learning to be patient. I mean, patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. That is the definition. That is a simple definition of patience.
Mm-hmm.
So that getting angry or upset, it's in here. Like, we have to deal with that inside. And the minute we're able to deal with that, we're able to manage our patience on the outside. And this is why, for me, I do use 2 different tools, and there's a whole bunch of different tools for everybody out there. And one of them is meditating. You have to have fun. You have to have patience. You're sitting there, it's really hard doing it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, it's tough. And those are tools to help us kind of like have that mind body kind of communication. And one thing that I do, and what I've been doing lately, I'm on and off with it, is going to the beach early in the morning and soaking in cold water for 10 minutes, maybe 10, 11 minutes, 11, 12 minutes, whatever. That is what that does for me, is that gives me that mind body connection. Throwing myself something in, it's uncomfortable at first. Then you're kind of talking to yourself, you regulate your breathing, and then all of a sudden 10 minutes flies by and you're like, dang, you get out, your body feels good. They say it's really good for inflammation. I find I like to use it for being able to have that connection with my mind and body. So when there's these times of that I need to be patient with myself, or I need to be patient with somebody else, I'm able to connect to that a lot sooner than if I didn't have that. And I these are those things, that I cling on to. Those are just some of the tools that I use between meditation and cold water. What do you call it? Cold water insertion?
Yeah.
Or that sounds good.
Cold water craziness in terms of what I would call it. But, no,
you have to have patience for everything to thaw off. But like, hey, like
yeah, exactly. But I think the idea of having tools in order to be patient, and I think perspective is such a huge help with patience, right?
yeah,
Like,
true.
because one of the things we always think about every time, because I'm a huge goal setter and we've been talking about goal setting a lot. I think one of the things that, or a couple of things that always come up for me in goal setting is number one, they're very undefined,
Totally.
or they're too defined. So those are two things. And then the other thing is that they can be either too small or too big. So if they're too small, you're not going to really care because they're just going to be like, oh, I'll scrap that. And then if they're too big, you really don't think that you can achieve them. So then there's those are four aspects of that. And then so what you want it to be is big enough to actually stretch you to have to do something, and then not so big that you just are going to give up.
That's right. Yeah.
And then what happens from there is that you can then delve into the small steps on how to achieve specific goals and look at who's done it and the process that they took and learn from them. Especially with the online marketing stuff that I'm doing with the Cool Vehicles website, I'm learning a lot of stuff from you and from other people, and I'm not necessarily like trying to find your mistakes and learn from them, but just inherently I'm learning from what you've learned, and you can tell me what to do because it worked for you. I still find my own way within it, but I'm saving time by learning from someone that's already done it. And I think that's super important in goal setting.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people don't really realize that oftentimes I've seen this a lot with myself, and I see it with other people all the time, is their goals aren't really their goals.
Yep.
Their goals are somebody else's goals, or their goals are what they think they actually want.
Expectation. Yeah. 100%.
So, and I think having the perspective of the fact that all the stuff that you went through that you didn't think you were going to go through, or the time that you struggled and you lost a job and then you did all this and it set you up for where you're at right now. If we can take our perspective and look back at where we were and realize we got through that, so we're just in a new version of that in this state, that helps you develop patience, because you can then go in and realize like, oh, it's just a matter of time. If I do all these things, I'm going to get to my destination. I just need to be patient with it.
Totally. I agree. Like, I think goals are important. Having that goal is super important. And with that goal, and we do hope when you set these goals that, and this is why a lot of athletes get coaches, because they have them plan out their whole workout regime. And they have that comfort that somebody has got them lined up, and they have to be accountable every day. So, you know, with that goal, reason why it feels so good to have that, what goes with that goal is the ability to set some sort of equation, some sort of schedule, some sort of something, right? Having that go with it. And when we say we have a strategy set up for some a seasonal thing or whatnot, we begin to create a content schedule. You know, we have that content. We start planning. Okay, this week, this day, that day, that day, that day. This is, you know, and as soon as we get to the epicenter of that special day, Valentine's Day or whatever, at least we have all those built up and ready to go for publishing, and that we've pre-planned it and we can feel comfortable. Doesn't mean that somewhere in between that, from point A to Z in that area, you're going to have something that you have to come up with, especially in communications, where someone kind of drops a bomb on you, or the company that you're working with is going to go, you know, this way and that way and this way. And you have to, you know, fudge your schedule, your content that you've created 6 months prior to like accommodate what's happening at that point. But at the same point, when you do have a goal, you have usually a schedule, or you've built up some sort of equation system around it that you can feel comfortable, and that if it does take a minute to catch yourself and have that patience to go, wait a second, I'm messed up. Oh yeah, you still have that leverage of having that system set up. while you're trying to deal with yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's also very important to be able to not be so hard on yourself and forgive yourself in those process. Like
100%.
obviously, if you're using that as a crutch and then forgiving yourself, oh, I didn't, and you're forgiving yourself every day for not doing something, that's a problem. But
Yeah.
if you know you have times where you need to adapt and do different things and change things up, like I had done, I got the YouTube channel going and I got my first YouTube video up and then I changed the content and I did all these things and I was watching. I'm trying to engage with my new subscribers because my new channel already has 3 subscribers in 3 days, which
Mhm.
is a lot faster pace than the other YouTube channel that I had started. This one specifically.
Mhm.
But so I was doing that. And I'm learning all these different things and I'm watching these videos and I'm talking to Dave and I'm talking to other people that I trust their opinion about, asking them different things, and I've got a couple of meetings. And so I started writing another blog post last night, and it got to be around 11:30 at night, and I was like, I'm just too tired to finish this.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I'll finish it in the morning, and then I never got the chance to finish it in the morning. And now I'm going out after this call to go to do some exercise and stuff. So I either have to finish it tonight, or I have to push everything else aside to
Right.
be able to finish it tomorrow morning, because it's something that I not only need to have done, but I want to do it. So you eventually, like, if you have a good enough system and you build yourself to be accountable,
Yeah.
it's good to have a coach
Yeah.
and have somebody lay stuff out for you. But if you can turn your accountability into you be your own coach
Yep.
and you set your own goals and you do all that stuff, then you get way further ahead because you, number one, don't have to wait for anybody to do anything, and you can set it up yourself. So then you
Totally.
know, oh, this is what I do. Even for you, I don't do obviously triathlons like you do or anything like that, but I can take that concept and those things that you've done, and then I can apply them to my own stuff, like you do with your content. You apply that same mindset, that same mentality
Mhm.
from training for triathlons as you do for putting content on the site.
Right. And well, I mean, it's just kind of like finding, like, let's circle back to when you said, okay, well, I'm just not going to wear socks. I'm
Yeah.
saving time. I am not going to wear socks because now I'm saving time to get to this. And there's a lot of health perspective to it for my feet and stuff like that. Right. So when we're building content, we have to really think about, okay, so what content best works for me? Some, like, all clients are going to be different. Some people are better with video. Some suck at video. Some better with writing. Some don't want to write. Some are better on Instagram. They are on Facebook. Some businesses are only meant for certain platforms. But the what it is that the medium. So some of us are better with certain mediums, right? And so when you work with a client, you're just trying to figure out, okay, well, what's your medium? What works best for you? And is it a video? Like, is it easier to talk to a video? No. Okay. Is it easier for you to write a tweet? Is it easier for you to write a blog? Well, that's good. We know that we need to have blogs, but how can we work around that? How can we get a blog written without putting the force on us and 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 whatnot? So it's easier if we can, like, find a way to give people a chance to find that no, I'm just not going to wear a sock. I'm better with video, so I'm going to take 5 minutes a day. I have a better flow with video. So I'm just going to do a bunch of short videos. From there, I'm going to take that, use this transcript to create a blog. I'm going to use other products and things out there that we can use, tools that can pull a clean transcript. I mean, Google did it with their last Pixel 4. I think that software is going to be rolling out to a lot of different Pixels and Google Chrome products out there. But no, that was Google. But when we are able to find those I guess they're kind of hacks, right? It makes our life easier. Then we're back on the flow. It made your day flow really well without wearing the socks, and then finding certain products or certain ways to go about
Processes
creating those.
things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I think like it's important too to think about the people that you're around. Do they help you with being in a flow state?
Word.
are they panicky people? Do they tend to never sit down and sit still? And like, you want to still love those people, and obviously, we're not trying to cut them out of your life, but like, you gotta recognize, like, if you're already, like, again, goes back to self-awareness. If you're already, crunching for a deadline or sort of worried about something, you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time with someone that's going to make you worry even more, right?
Yeah.
And conversely, you don't want to hang out with someone that's necessarily super nonchalant about everything, because then you'll lose motivation that way as well.
Right.
So you want to find someone that works with you well in whatever you're trying to do. And sometimes, to be honest with you, someone that panics will help you, because you kind of need to panic, because if you've got 24 hours to do something and you've been procrastinating, you need someone to kick you in the butt.
Or help you work with you to find a solution. Yeah. I mean, like when you go to a race, like an Ironman, when you're going near the finish line or any other race, you're not going to have people on the sidelines go, "You fucking suck! You're an asshole! You'll never do it!" Blah 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 blah. At that point, in those people's weakest times, just trying to crawl over that threshold there, that finish line, having those people pick you up on the sidelines is so important, and that goes for anything in life, in an office. In some strategic team, anybody that works together, you need an A team, and you need to pick each other up, period. If you're going to have somebody that's a dink that goes, "You'll never do it, you're sucky, haha," it's like that
was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, by the way.
I'm still here.
You just made that.
It's just like,
so wicked.
You don't need those people, and that happens in life. We do have those, and they're still popping up. They still go, "I am going to destroy you now." You're like, okay.
And that helps with patience, and then that patience will add to your confidence, which will then allow you to not listen to that individual. And
right.
The other thing that I wanted to mention when we talked about patience and we talked about other people's opinions throwing us off track, this is something that I've realized recently. I don't know why I'm leaning in, so obviously getting serious if I'm leaning extra into the video. But
you need a little mic on top. That's something you can really, like some floating mic there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyhow, keep going. Sorry.
It lends itself to think about. Oftentimes people give you advice and they're just trying to help you. And if you get thrown off by it, that's not them, that's you. Like,
ego.
You can listen to anything you want to, and then you can choose to be like, "I'm not going to do that," or "I might take that advice," or "I might do this." But the idea of someone just telling you something or telling that you need to do it a certain way, and then you getting thrown off by that, you need to take ownership of that. Having a deep conversation with someone and then having it sort of mess with your mental faculties, and then you get thrown off of your goal, like those things happen, and you have to give yourself some forgiveness to be able to be like, okay, this big deep conversation threw me off. But if you let it to completely derail you for a long period of time and you don't get back on track, that's not the other person's fault, that's your fault. And we like, especially as quick as we are to like a link and like someone and say, "That's the measure of success, Mr. Social Media, that has all this stuff that I say that I want." We can do it just as well by having someone give us advice and say, "Well, they gave me advice and then it made me think about this and then I did this and then it all got screwed up, so it's their fault." It's not their fault. They're looking at it at a different perspective and trying to offer you advice. Now, if they gave you advice without you asking it, that's a different story. That's a conversation you need to have with that individual. Most of the time, I like to think of the people that give you advice are trying to do it helpfully. And if they're not, then you need to not be around that person as much. And a lot of people come from a level of insecurity. I'm not going to throw my parents under the bus by any means, but a lot of times their advice that they give us, even at 37 and 40 some years old, your parents give you advice from being the parent of that 8-year-old that's still inside you that they still see, even if you're 40. So they'll give you advice because they don't want you to get hurt, because they don't want to see you hurt, because that hurts them.
Yeah, and we do that to ourselves too.
Exactly.
We give sympathy. "Oh, Mimo. Oh, sorry me. Oh, sorry me." We're like,
and that we can appreciate that, especially from parents, because they love us and they care about us. But we need to recognize that that's what they're doing, and we need to not let that derail us. And same with someone's negative attitude about ourselves, or opinion of ourselves, or that tell us that we're doing it this way, or that's a stupid idea, or you'll never succeed doing that.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for a lot of people, is you'll never succeed if you do it this way.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's one person's opinion, and then you'll find that right person, that team that lifts you up, and everybody in that team will say, of course you can do it, and you should do these different things, and this will help you, and this isn't working for you. I noticed this error, and I did this once, and I can help you do this.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I mean, there's techniques that I do myself, and if any, that it might be useful. If you do have somebody that it comes at you in a negative form, just step back behind yourself and breathe. Remind yourself to just go, well, they're like, meh, 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 meh. Take a step back, mute them a little bit, let them keep talking, and just breathe. And don't shut them out. Listen to what they have to say, but don't take any heat on it, and just learn to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Listen to ways, to this, find out that the key words that they're having an issue with, find those key words, because they'll go around and around and it'll come back on themselves again. And when you go, oh, wait a second. Oh, that's the issue right there. You can incorporate that into your communication and be able to calm them down, see where you can inject and how you're going to formulate your communication back to them, let them calm down. And in that time being, you may or may not be able to pull something that you can learn from, or you can just be able to, that breathing lets you go.
Or you may have been able to, and you may be able to, in that process, help them because
they may go, issue. I'm sorry, I was just having a bad day, and oh man, I stubbed my toe this morning, then I spilt my coffee on my tie, and it just snowballed from there. And you're like, okay, that's it. Maybe that's all they're having.
Yeah, and again, all of that is patience. All of that is patience for you talking to that individual, and 100%. It's all patience for the individual going through that process of being angry. Because oftentimes we'll get angry, and then we'll look in the mirror at ourselves and be like, I can't believe I got angry. I shouldn't have got angry, and that is so counterproductive. It's ridiculous. Being
too quick to the jump. Yeah, 100%, yo.
So everything ends up going back to patience, which is I think. I don't know if we just randomly do this a lot of times.
That's why it's called rolling with it.
We kind of always seem to end the video on this sort of profound wrap up, and we bring it back full circle. So before we say anything else that doesn't add into that flow state, I think we're gonna end the conversation on patience, and we'll see you guys in the next little bit. I'm gonna be posting this video up on a YouTube and be sharing it out and all that stuff. Tag Dave in it, and if anybody in our community would like to be a part of this,
come be part of a family.
Currently, we're being a bit cheap and using the free version of Zoom, so we can't have
just only 40 minutes
watching this live. It's only 40 minutes, but we would like to have. We're going to set up some guests and have them on, 30 or 40 minutes. With us. We don't have to be in there the whole time, but we want to add that third person's perspective into some of this stuff, because
totally.
Dave and I could talk like this all day, and a lot of people will enjoy it. We'll enjoy it, but I think it's important also to have other people's perspectives, and then we get to practice our patience with that, because they'll be there with us for that. So
leave your comments below. Let us know if you have a topic that you would like us to maybe explore or maybe be a part of. Let us know. Send him a message. Send this guy, Steve.
Absolutely. Steve at rollingmotivation.com. Best way to get a hold of me, or just comment on the video. Comment on any of the other platforms. And also give Dave's social media a like. It's TriNerds, which is the triathlon stuff, and it's We Are TriNerds, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Or just David J. Kong on Twitter, on Instagram. LinkedIn, David Mackenzie Kong. Find me there. Let's talk. I'll be posting these on LinkedIn as well. But
absolutely,
and just get in the conversation. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Have fun in San Francisco, you San Francisco treat.
Here we go. Look, I'm in the water. Okay, there we go. All right.
Shark. Okay, bye.
Okay, see you later.